Thank you. Well, so how are we today? Yeah? Good. I had an incredible experience yesterday, and I'm really just filled with it. So it's a bad actor who comes on stage and doesn't operate from what's going on inside him. I've not spent a lot of time in this area, and when Henry invited me to come to this convention, the first thing I thought of was, oh great, I'll be able to go to the Vietnam Memorial, and I'll be able to go to the Holocaust Museum, which are the two places I wanted to go to. Since they don't have a World War II memorial where my father was killed, I figured, well, the Vietnam Memorial will be the next best thing where a couple of my friends didn't make it back. And also my wife, she lost her mother in concentration camp. Believe me, I'm a much lighter person. We'll laugh, we'll have, I'll throw out some gags. But that's what I mean. If I don't get this off my chest, then I sort of like, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so yesterday after I spoke and signed autographs, Henry dropped me off there. And of course, it was like walking around with my own personal sauna. My blue shirt bled all over my white pants. I looked like somebody who was sort of like pulled out of the Potomac River. That's okay, because it was an amazing experience. Now, I mention this also because I assume that most of you are from this area. And I was genuinely, deeply moved. And I think it is appropriate to have a city like this as a capital of a nation, where everything I went to were memorial for the dead. But that's appropriate, because there are many of us here who have lost people in these various wars or holocausts. And we mustn't forget that. And these memorials, I realized yesterday that was the whole point of these memorials, so we'll never forget. We'll never forget that freedom is not free, as it says on the Korean Memorial, which is extraordinary. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's extraordinary. It's beautifully designed. You've got these 19 7-foot statues in ponchos with helmets. And they're coming out of this grove of woods uphill, looking for their way towards a pool. And it's gritty. And you get the feeling that these guys are in harm's way. And they're all people from all nations, all races. And the Vietnam Memorial, which of course most of you have seen, I've never seen before, it knocked me out. The simplicity of it. And the feeling of the people in front of the wall. And also at the people leaving things, not only at the Vietnam Memorial, but also at the Korean Memorial, leaving wreaths. There were newspaper clippings, old newspaper clippings from the 50s that people were leaving at the Korean Memorial. Of people from Ohio and Rhode Island and Oregon. Vets who, in the local paper, their obituaries and stuff like that. I mean, it was mind-blowing. It really was. I wrote this long poem, and it's fortunate for you that I lost a page of it, because I was going to read it to you, so you're spared. Anyway, my name is Andrew Robinson. I play Garrick in Deep Space Nine, which makes me very happy. And I'm also very happy to be here with you, because I like talking about Garrick. I like talking about Deep Space Nine. I like talking about acting. I like talking about the way one creates Garrick, the way I create Garrick, the way the writers create Garrick, and the way I play him. And these conventions also blow my mind, but for very different reasons. I am genuinely impressed and moved, I mean this, that I come here and you people show up and listen to my babblings and ravings and rantings and so forth. And you forgive me at the end of it too. Anyway, I'll give you a brief background on basically, my professional life is kind of divided in two. I was figuring this out yesterday because I was trying to figure out how does a guy from New England who was a classically trained actor end up playing a guy in a rubber suit and a rubber mask on an outer space show and love it and have a good time, and then come to conventions to talk about it. I graduated from college in New York, and I went to British acting school on a Fulbright scholarship. I spent several years in repertory theater, New York theater. My first film was a film with Clint Eastwood called Dirty Harry. From there, I started, thank you. I have mixed feelings about that film. I love the work. I love the work. But in a way, it kind of, well, in a way, not kind of, it did ruin my film career because people thought that they, the director went to some madhouse and hired this guy to do this role. And truly, there were people in Hollywood who were absolutely even afraid to have me come into their office because they're afraid that I was going to, I don't know, pull out my whatever. Anyway, from there, the highlights of my career, besides the stage, because I consider myself primarily a stage actor. As I said yesterday, it's in this kind of venue that I'm much more comfortable in front of a camera, actually. But in terms of film, I mean, the things that I love that I've done are odd things. All these odd characters, but they're real characters, like Liberace, like this character with multiple personality disorder on LA Law. There was a Kojak I once did with Ruth Gordon, where I played this cab driver who went to this woman who was a fortune teller, played by Ruth Gordon, and talked to his father, who was a very strange man. I mean, it's stuff like that. Hellraiser, which I got to play two characters, the good brother and the bad brother. And I mention this because there are a lot of people, because of the mask of Garrick, there are a lot of people who like, figure, well, Andrew Robinson, who is he? Is this his first job? Deep Space Nine? Has he ever done anything else? Some people recognize the voice. Fewer people recognize the eyes. But there are a lot of people who think that, I guess it's part of the Star Trek curse, that this guy never had a career before Deep Space Nine, probably will never have one after one. Ain't a horror. Anyway, so rather than me sort of like, oppress you with, my curriculum vitae, why don't you just ask me questions? And ask me questions, ask me questions. Whatever questions you want to ask. And I'm going to try and keep track of everyone, but I'll go back to that man with the red thing that he's holding up. If I could change one thing about Garrick, what would it be? I must tell you, I wouldn't change a thing. Because I love Garrick. I really do love Garrick. I think Garrick is one of the most completely realized characters in terms of the writer's conception that I have seen on any of the Star Trek series. My only hope, though, is that the writers continue to have the same enthusiasm for the character that they seem to have. I'm a little concerned, which every actor is always concerned, when you have a running character on a show, you're always concerned that somehow the writers are just going to sort of like, well, the flavor of the month is sort of like lost its taste, let's go on to someone else. So far, in 3 years, they haven't. And I think that's one of the benefits of not being a regular character, being a recurring character, so that you're not there week after week after week. It would be nice to make that kind of money, but the advantage is I think the character stays fresh, so I wouldn't change anything. There was someone over here. Yes, ma'am.
I think that Garrick is one of the best, as you say, realized characters. I love what you've done with him. You've got more depth than anything. How much did you know about Garrick before you started to play, before the first time you were in front of the camera?
Yeah, how much did I know about Garrick before I played him for the first time? Nothing. Nothing at all. And it's sort of standard operating procedure with the writers that they tell you nothing. They give you the script as if the script exists abstractly in all of its own, whereas they themselves have carefully sketched out a whole back history, which they tell you nothing about. They tell you nothing about it. I'm not quite sure why they do that. I've asked Ira Bear, the head writer, about this, and he sort of gave me a funny flip kind of answer. But I think they do it, and I like the idea that they don't, because they don't impose their thing on me, and it forces me to create a whole history for Garrick, which I do for every character that I play. I write an entire history, biography for almost every character that I play. Certainly for the important ones like Garrick. So basically, what happened was that when I read the script the first time, and it was just this one episode that I was going to do, I very quickly made up some stuff about this character, and because sometimes when you get hired for a role, it's the right one, and sometimes when you get hired for the role, it's the wrong one. And believe me, if you want to know what I mean, check out some reruns, or you'll run across them as you channel surf, and you'll see that there have been plenty of wrong ones that I've been inside of, where it's just hasn't fit at all. But because Garrick fit, I was able, those choices that I made were good ones. The behavior, the sort of reptilian physicality, that smile that covers everything that he's saying, that calms and pacifies people while he rifles their psyche and crosses their emotional wires. They're being emotionally pickpocketed and they don't even know it, because this guy that's his skill. And that's what I love about him, because he's such a liar, he's such a dissembler. And he's always smiling, and he's always very curious how he does it. Reminds me of, well, I promised yesterday I got a little too much of my political high horse, and I promised myself I'm not going to do that today. The back in the aisle, this side with the glasses, sir.
How do you feel about Garrick's overall personality?
All right, so go stand up so I can see you. How do I feel about Garrick's overall personality? Oh, I love him. I do love him. Because people like this exist. People who are loners, people who are exiles, people who are on the outside, who suffer from that loneliness, but take advantage of it. He's an information junkie. So he's always gathering information. Even when he doesn't need it, he gathers information and stores it away. And someday he'll use it. Someday it will come invaluable. But he's a lonely person. It's a wonderful character. Now, right across from me originally was the person that, yes. My makeup, it takes 2.5 hours. And that's the biggest pain. That's not the wonderful thing about Garrick. But it is the thing about Garrick, I mean, it would be silly to take Garrick looking like this. Can you imagine? But, I mean, because the makeup is so remarkable. And when I look at it, I think sometimes there are times when I can't believe that it's me. That I just have to remember that when I have a call, which I probably do on tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock. And they start slapping the cold glue on me while everyone else is sleeping. Yes, ma'am. Please stand up so it's easier for me to relate.
First of all, I think you could play Garrick like that.
Well, yeah. All right. Folks, bear with me who heard this story yesterday. It was 4:31 Monday morning. We were in the trailer, we being, as I visualize it, left to right, me, this guy Ed Wiley, who was playing a Cardassian, Mary Crosby, who was playing a Cardassian love interest of Quark. It was an episode called Prophet and Lost, and himself, His Eminence, Mr. Quark, at the other end. The thing hit, we started bouncing around, hitting our heads on the ceiling. Everybody started screaming and scrambling until one makeup guy, this amazing man, Dean, said, listen, I would suggest that you stay put because who knows what's falling outside, and stopped us. One cool head when all of us were losing ours. What is that expression? If you can keep your head while all about everyone's losing theirs, poor Mark Twain is probably turning in his grave. Anyway, so we walk out into the dark. Now, 4:31, by this time it's probably 4:33. It's pitch black in Los Angeles.